I used to think the Joker movie that came out in 2019 had the best exploration of a villain story. I had never seen the story of a villain told in a way that portrays the villain like a villain. I've never seen it before, and I thought the portrayal of that character in that film was fantastic, and it was at that moment the best exploration of a villain story that I've ever seen until I saw this series, until I saw the Penguin. Yo, this thing takes telling a villain story to another level. This show was an horrifying delight. Welcome back to the channel, everyone. In this video, I want to talk about the Penguin. The Penguin follows the story of Oswald Cobb, a low-level criminal that climbs up the rank to become the top boss of gangs in Gotham. This character, Oswald Cobb, was also a character in the Batman movie that came out in 2022, and in this series, he gets his own story. And man, I did not know what to expect with this story. I like the Batman movie that came out in 2022, so I wanted to see what more they will give us from this world. And the fact that it was the Penguin, I did not really think there was anything interesting to the Penguin that I wanted to see. But because it was an HBO show, I thought I was going to give it a try. And I waited, and the show came out, and I've been following it every week. And the final episode came out yesterday, and whew, wow, this series, like I said, has been an horrifying delight. Like I said, this film follows the Batman story, and if you know the Batman, you know Batman is a comic book character, he's a superhero. So when you hear that there's a story about a villain from a superhero story, you also think it's going to be a superhero movie, and to have the classic tropes that superhero movies always have, or that villain stories always have. And you will be so wrong, because this film just explores some things that I did not see coming, that made this story a very, very horrifying story to watch, but also very, very, very enjoyable, because this character is a bad guy. He does horrible, horrible shit, but we are in his perspective and we are following him. And it's crazy how the writers managed to make you care for this bad guy. Calling him a bad guy is like an understatement, because he does some very, very horrific shit. This guy is just a monster, but you are siding with him, you are rooting for him, you are watching as he's screwing people over, and you are cheering him on. Like, it blew my mind that they were able to achieve that. I think one of the things that helped in achieving that was that every other character in this film, they are also bad guys. I can't even say there's like one good character. Okay, maybe there's one good character in this film, but the good character itself does some bad shit. So like, this story is about terrible, terrible people. But man, it was so entertaining to watch. And rooting for Oswald Cobb, the main bad guy, was something that was just wow, unexpected, and I loved every moment of it. You know, when I saw they were going to make a film about the Penguin, Oswald Cobb, I thought they were going to make him like an anti-hero type, because most of the series that I've seen that maybe want to show a villain story, they portray them like a kind of anti-hero. For instance, the Joker movie that came in 2019, I mean, it's the bad guy, but it feels like they're painting him to be an anti-hero in that film. But in this film, it's not like that. You see this guy do bad things. Like, he steadily just keeps doing terrible things to people, and you keep siding with him, and you just know that they are not trying to make him an anti-hero. They are showing you that this guy is a villain, this guy is a bad guy. And that thing just made me appreciate the story so much, because I mean, I'm watching the story of a villain. So if I'm watching the story of a villain and you're giving me some things that seem heroic, I'll be like, no, you're not doing this character justice. And man, the filmmakers, the showrunners, they did this character justice with the way they explored the evil shit he was doing. And like I said, all the other characters in this film are also bad people. They do bad things, and the way those characters are written is done so well. Like, you can see why the characters are making the decisions they are making. Like, you are almost supporting them. You're almost saying, okay, yes, I understand why you're doing this, and go on. I'm behind you. It just goes to show how good the writing was for the characters. I don't want to go into details, not so I won't give spoilers, but the way they wrote the characters, you think you know the next thing that this character is going to do, but then they just take the story in a very, very complex direction, and just make it much more interesting and much more realistic, and make the character so much more interesting. And man, all the characters were so entertaining to watch. Even the characters that didn't last more than 1 or 2 episodes, they're still interesting characters that felt very, very realistic, and so fun to watch. And man, all those characters, I loved seeing them so much. Like I said, the writing of this show is stellar. The way they write some things that you think, okay, I know where this is going to go, and then it just goes a completely different direction. And it's not a twist for twist's sake. It's a twist that makes you see that this character that is pulling this twist off is a very intelligent person, and it takes you deep into the mind of the character. It makes you appreciate the character's thinking and his intelligence much more, because of the twists and turns that it takes. twists and turns that don't come out of everywhere that make so much sense and give much more context to the stories of some characters. And man, the writing was just impeccable. There were so many times I was like, I know what is going to happen here, and I was so wrong. Like when I got to episode 7, this series has 8 episodes. When I got to episode 7, I was thinking, okay, I can see a fate that is coming for this character. I know this character is going to die at some point, and I was waiting for that. And these people just took this thing in a very different direction, in a much more tragic direction. I'm just like, whoa, this is incredible writing, and they did a fantastic job writing the stories of these characters and this world altogether, and did it so brilliantly. And I did not believe they could make a story about a villain so interesting and so well written. And man, it was really mind blowing. If you saw the Batman movie that came out in 2022, directed by Matt Reeves, that movie was a very dark and gritty movie. It had this very realistic feeling. It felt like something that could happen in a real world, like in a very shady part of the world. Things like that could be happening. And I like that Batman movie because it did not feel like just any other superhero movie. It felt grounded and felt very realistic. And that same element was brought into this film as well. This film was very gritty and very dark. Like you see some kind of things that happens in this show and you're like, whoa, it feels so realistic because of how grounded it is. Like the characters are not like this larger than life characters. You watch some comic book movies and you see the characters talking some kind of way, talking in a way that does not even seem realistic. But that doesn't happen here. The way they talk, the way they are explored, the way they go about their world, the world itself, it feels very realistic. It feels like a world that you could be living in right now. And so something that added to the overall brilliance of this story. Huh, there were so many things that went right with it. Speaking of the music, most of the songs in this film I'd never heard them before. But when you hear the lyrics of the songs and the context that they use those songs in, you just be like, wow, this song is like it was made for this kind of film. There are some of the songs that are very ironic with what is going on with the scenes, and there are some that are just spot on. And that was something that added to the brilliance of the music, the soundtrack, and everything overall. Man, I can't really think of one thing that I did not like with this series because every aspect of it was fantastic. Every single episode was giving something fantastic that I did not see coming, and it just kept getting better and better. And the season finale, whoa, the season finale, I think that season finale was honestly the most tragic season finale I have seen this year. The season finale was so good. I saw some things happen and I was like, fuck. I thought this was never going to happen, and this happened, and it did not. It's not like it did not make sense. It makes sense with the characters' journeys, and it just felt like, yeah, I know this person can do this kind of shit. So when some things happen, you see like, fuck, it hurts you so much, but then you see it like this is what makes sense with this character. This is what makes sense for this story, and everything that happened in that season finale was just brilliant. Yo, I can't talk about this series without talking about the performances from all the actors. All the actors, all round, they delivered fantastic performances, especially Colin Farrell and Christy Milioti as Oswald Cobb and Sophia Falcone. Those two people delivered fantastic performances, like because they were the main characters. Just two of them that were following for the most part of this film. There were actually three, but two of them were the ones I enjoyed seeing the most, and their performances were so good. Especially Colin Farrell, he disappears. The way this guy could play that character and make that voice and sound like that was just so incredible. The performances in this film, all the actors, they delivered fantastic performances, and ah honestly, I can't think of anything that was wrong with this story because everything came together brilliantly and worked so well. The showrunners of this show, wow, they knocked it out of the park. I can honestly say this series is the best series I have seen this year. And it's not just because I like HBO and I'm biased towards HBO, because that was actually the truth. Like I saw also the Dragon season 2 this year, and I can say that show was not as good as this one because truly it was not as good as this one, and that's also an HBO show. But man, this show was just on another level. I loved it so much, and they delivered on every front. If you've not seen The Penguin, even though you don't like superhero movies, you have to check this film out because it does not feel like it's superhero movies. I mean, there are no superheroes in this film. There are no heroes in this film. All the characters are villains. They are bad people. But man, they were so interesting to watch. And man, if you've not seen it, you will have to watch it. You just have to watch it. It will blow your freaking mind. So have you seen the movie? What do you think about it? Comment below and let me know. If you watch this video up until now, please subscribe to my channel for more contents like this. Thank you for watching. See you in the next video. Cheers.